and one of the places where I worked, they also did a harvest festival where they welcomed costumes, but no one could wear masks because all the kids were young and they didn't want to scare the young kids. So it was like costumes, but if you're Iron Man, you had to take off your mask.
Take off the mask.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, I guess we would certainly, at least I personally, I suppose it all depends on your perspective. I would hope that that's not sort of the future of Halloween for kids, is this ever more sterile, ever more safety conscious, overwrought, overprotective, over paranoid fear of either the satanic influences of the history of the holiday or the evil impulses of the lunatic who's handing out the Mars bars.
Or the homemade treats. The candied apples.
Yeah, I'd like to see it get back to the point where kids could enjoy, somebody's made homemade Rice Krispie squares and the kids can enjoy that sort of maybe made with love kind of homemade stuff.
Going house to house.
Without the fear of Nanny Apple down the street trying to poison everybody.
But those crazies are always going to be around.
They always have been around.
If you stop trick-or-treating, the crazies win.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
That's maybe the overriding theme is,
I just hope that
don't let the crazy people win. Celebrate Halloween.
Are you going to take your baby trick-or-treating, Jeremy?
Yeah, this is going to be his first year
that's going to be exciting.
Trick-or-treating, so it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Are you going to...
Huh?
How do you feel about him looking at people with masks and, doing the trunk or treat with him and stuff like that?
I mean, we're all wearing masks, aren't we? Every day.
Well, and plus, I mean, he's attended some of the goat killing, so he's seen the hoods and
he's seen the hood. He's seen the hoods and the daggers and the cloaks. He knows what it's all about.
And, kind of before we sort of wrap this particular episode up, Andrew, you particularly, you guys had some specific podcasts that you felt had content that was really appropriate for this time of year. You want to throw some of that out?
Yeah, I didn't want to go too deep into what they're about. I'm sure you can Google them or whatever, but a few that I really like around this time that I've been listening to for the past month or so, that cover horror movie topics, or they are horror stories within themselves that provide like an experience. One is Cult Film Face Off. They do just the craziest types of movies you can think of. They've done Repo. Is it called Repo Man or Repo Men with Emilio Estevez?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Repo Man.
Yeah,
Repo Man.
They've done that.
Repo Man was
like a whole, like a suite of that director's films against other people, against films that are similar to those. That's really interesting. There's one called The Dark Verse and another called the No Sleep Podcast, which are similar in that they take these like horror stories and give them not only do they have narration, but they have sound effects, awesome music, really transport you. I had a frightening time on a turbulent airplane once listening to one of the No Sleep podcast episodes.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So if you get a chance, check out No Sleep podcast. A lot of those stories are taken from Reddit's No Sleep subreddit. There's one called Faculty of Horror, which is hosted by these two ladies who are extremely intelligent. They're Canadian and just expound on horror, and they usually take a few works, and each episode has a theme, such as like I know The Lost Boys and a Fright Night. There was Lost Boys and Fright Night, and they have an episode based on latent homosexuality within in those two films.
Interesting.
And I mean, they go very, very in depth, and like I said, they're very intelligent women talking about horror movies. There's another called Horror Movie Podcast that's really, really good. And they just hit their 100th episode. It's a 2 or 3 hour horror movie podcast. They go over everything from new releases, and they do themed episodes as well. A recent themed episode, double episode, was and horror anthologies. It was great. So give that a listen. Limetown. There's also Lore by Aaron Mankey. That's actually being developed into an Amazon television series now. So if you haven't given that a listen, also jump on that train. And last but not least, the guys that we've talked about before on this podcast have Those Movie Guys. They do a really good horror breakdown as well. You can tell that they really love horror films and have a lot to say about that. But those are the ones that I recommend.
Jeremy, did you have some you wanted to add to that list?
Yes. First is a serial podcast series, not the podcast serial, but a podcast, an episodic thing called Welcome to Night Vale.
That's good.
They do it's like a fictional radio program out of this fictional town, Night Vale. And the DJ character, every episode reports on odd and eerie things that are happening around the town. And it's really cool. It's been going on for a while, so if you listen to Welcome to Night Vale, you'll have a lot to catch up on. I was also going to recommend Lore, because Lore is a pretty bone-chilling podcast. A lot of the stories that he covers are really awesome. And then podcast Revolving Culture. They recently released a suite of horror-themed episodes. I think three or four episodes they just put out. Those guys are pretty cool. So give Revolving Culture, give them a listen. Lore and Welcome to Night Vale. Those are all good shows.
Yeah, I tried Revolving Culture. I wasn't a fan. I gotta be honest.
I'm still on the fence about it.
It's that Andrew guy.
I know the moderator's a jackass. Well, really, I mean, I think we've pretty well touched on a pretty good broad swath of what is Halloween and what we love about it. It's been, like Jeremy said, it's been a fun suite of shows as we've gone through October. It will certainly be something that when October rolls around, we'll have more to talk about when it comes to all things creepy and horror related. But for now, certainly, the irony, I suppose, of our previous conversations, we do want you to be safe this Halloween, but we want you to enjoy this Halloween. So please enjoy Halloween, enjoy the rest of October, and we will certainly look forward to seeing you again next time as we move on to the rest of the year. We've got a lot more really exciting stuff to talk about. For everyone here at Revolving Culture, I'm Marty.
I'm Robbie.
I'm Andrew. Happy Halloween.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Vicky. Don't eat homemade treats.
Eat them.
Don't eat homemade treats.
Don't eat
Don't
homemade treats.
homemade treats.
Don't eat
Don't eat them.
homemade treats.
Don't eat those homemade treats.
Don't eat butts.
If they're homemade, then you probably should.
I'll wait
eat
for the
those
dance
homemade
remix
treats.
of this. Is going to be great. Certainly, like we said, everybody enjoy your Halloween, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Revolving Culture.
Go buy your treats. Don't eat them at home while you're making your treats. When they sell the treats that you want to eat.
You'll beat yourself if you eat those treats.